for my last question, I like to always kind of ask, what would be your top 2 or 3, maybe 4 big tips for if someone is new to writing or they're just getting into maybe publishing? What would you tell them about the writing process?
I would say for new writers, I would encourage you to read and do. So read a lot and do a lot, because a lot of the stuff that we write from does actually come from experience. So even if it's something that's like fantasy based, like, and you have no experience with it, like maybe find a way to have experience. Like if you're writing about hobbits, like hiking across a mountain, have you ever hiked across a mountain? Maybe give it a shot.
Mhm.
Then you can write about achy feet and blisters on feet and stuff like that. Read a lot, especially like there's back and forth discussion if you should read your genre while you're writing your genre, but you should definitely read the genre that you are writing. And the reason I say that is because there's expectations within each genre. And if you're not, I don't want to say checking boxes, but if you're not fulfilling that, your audience is going to notice and they're going to make a comment about it. So, like, here's one, right? Romances, get this, have a happy ending, right?
Right.
If the romance doesn't have a happy ending, it's not a romance, right? Now, I know that's probably like, duh, but I've had to explain that so many times because there's one person where when they wrote their romance, it was mythology based, but they had the lady eat the guy and then had her walk off into the sunset, and she thought that was romantic. And I was like, no, that's called horror. That's what you wrote, like literally. Right. Yeah. So you have to know that, right? Another example would be like urban fantasy. So urban fantasy, kind of like what Jim Butcher writes, Jenna Frost, so on and so forth. Within that genre, there is the expectation of the hidden world, right? Mm-hmm. So we have the mundane world where us like mortal beings are like kind of sitting here complaining about taxes and whatnot. And then under that, we have like, the mythological people that are like fighting to the death to save all of humanity for some reason, but they're hiding it from us.
Right.
So if you have an urban fantasy, but you don't have the hidden realm part, people are going to be kind of like, so what exactly is this? Right. Also, like with world ending stuff, like there's always going to have to be the talk about like resources, shelter, things like that. Mm-hmm. So general thoughts there. Business wise, target audience, we kind of talked about that a little bit. I would say I'm thinking about the things that I find people run into a lot. When your book is not successful, don't be afraid to ask why. Right. Mm-hmm. If you know that you wrote something and you really loved it, but it's not doing very well, go look into why it's not doing well. And that's not to say that the writing's not doing well, but it might be your blurb is not good. It might be your keywords are not good, right? Maybe your cover's off, right? So go look at those things. And then I guess also on the cover front, like make sure that when you design your cover that you can see it like bite size, right? Because a lot of people, when they're looking for covers right now, they're not actually in a bookstore like the one that you own. Yeah. They're looking at it online. So they have to be able to see the prominent elements of your cover along with the title and all of that other stuff. So, and a cover designer would probably cover that with you, but a lot more people are trying to do it their own because they're trying to save money, which I respect if that's what you want to do. Just know what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Very similar to just like doing YouTube. Like you got to have the thumbnail and the title and the description. Like it's all got to kind of, and then the content actually has to be good. Like it's actually, it may not, like that you said that, like it may not even be the writing. It could just be the package that it's in. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will tell you, being an independent author on Amazon is really tough. I know, I'll tell you why, because that's not a secret. Amazon actually has a deal cut out with the big publishers right now that anytime you search for a keyword, the traditional houses will show up first, and then everything else will show up after that. One time I decided to just put my name in there, right, expecting my book to show up at some point. My book showed up under number 3, right? It's my book. It's got my name on it.
Right.
Right. But what happened? But the 2 books that showed up before that were traditional published books.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's so much of that that's, that's actually something I really give Brandon Sanderson props for, of when he did his secret projects and he didn't put them out on Audible. Like even he was like, hey, this isn't really working.
I can complain about that. Yeah, no, so like not to get into like a rant. I had a book on Audible, and I fully funded it, as in I paid for all of it.
Yeah.
And I went through and got it hosted up on Audible and everything else like that. And so when it came to me trying to pick the price of the book, Audible told me no. Audible wouldn't let me decide the price of my book. Right? Yeah. And then on top of that, they would just randomly put my stuff on sale and not notify me. So then my royalties would go down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I asked about it, it's like, oh, well, we're trying to make your book more marketable by putting it on sale. I was like, like maybe talk to me about it. And then they throw out like that terms of service.
Yeah.
But
so it's like you got into the self-publishing game to be in control, and then they're like not letting you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're essentially a publisher right now. And then I ended up taking my book down because they sent me this message saying like, after review, we're going to go ahead and lower the cost of your book to like whatever. And I was like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I sent in the notice basically saying, take my book off. I'm leaving your platform. They're like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I am sure. Yeah, you've not been good to me like whatsoever. So I have the book on everywhere but Audible.
Yeah.
And what was funny is that as I was having this back and forth with them, like as soon as I got done doing that, Brandon Sanderson came out with his statement. And I was kind of like, at least, thank you. Like, because a lot of us have been kind of trying to talk about it, and we've been told to shush and that we should feel lucky to be there because we're small authors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I this was a couple years ago, and I don't even remember who it was, and I should have probably kept track, but I remember coming across someone on like Instagram, and they put up a short or something that was like, I just made the difficult decision to only sell my stuff through my own website. Like they pulled themselves off of Amazon, and they were like, I was really scared about it. I was really like nervous to do it, but I've been making more money and selling more copies than I was through Amazon.
Yeah, I wish I had that reader base because I really want to do that too. I would. I mean, you can purchase everything on my website right now, but the truth of the matter is that people want to go to low friction areas that are trusted. So remember earlier when I told you that I only work with my editor through Fiverr, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. So if somebody reads the book that they spent $7 on and they realize it sucks, they want that $7 back so they can go get the latte, right?